Discover what you truly want in life and make your dreams come true.
We all have dreams, desires. Stop for a moment and ask yourself, what is one of your aspirations? Take a moment and just fantasize. Let your mind wander. As the Reverend Robert Schuller says, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? You've just done what all truly successful people do. Creative planning, goal setting, daydreaming, call it what you want. All the great creatives throughout history used this creative state of daydreaming to formulate their ideas. Einstein imagined riding on a beam of light, flashing a torch across at another in order to come up with a theory of relativity. Tesla could design a machine perfectly in his mind before he did it in the physical world. Michelangelo, Goethe, Mozart, Walt Disney all referred to the creative daydream state or reverie as a source of ideas. What they were doing was a form of self-hypnosis or a guided imagery technique. But why is it so important? Because for anything to happen in the real world, it first has to happen in the imaginary world. Stop for a moment and have a look around you. Most of what you can see once started as a thought in someone's head. The more you think thoughts of success, the more you become successful. In order for you to improve your life, you need to improve your thoughts. All of us need to do this creative activity of designing goals. Goals are very important. Viktor Frankl, the famous psychologist who wrote Man's Search for Meaning, talked about his experiences in a concentration camp during World War II. He made a personal study of why only 1 in 28 people survived. He observed that those who made it through were not necessarily the fittest, the healthiest, or the most intelligent. Mostly, those that survived, he believed, had a purpose to live, a goal. Goals were what kept them going. When the mind has a target, it can focus and direct itself until it reaches its goal. If you've got no targets, then your energy is dissipated. You may have heard the saying, you get back what you put out in life. So if you're putting out vagueness, then all you'll get back are wishy-washy half results. The way to change that is by having certain goals. As Reverend Robert Schuller also says, failing to plan is a plan to fail. Most people's goals are things like to get through the week. They don't actually stop and design the kind of life they truly want to have. Most people are like sheep. They just follow the herd. Less than 3% of Americans write down their goals. They just don't bother to design their destiny. They stumble through life, leaving things to chance, wondering why they feel bad. It's like going out in a boat without a rudder, getting tossed and turned by the waves. You could end up anywhere, rather than deliberately steering in the direction that you want to. Most people spend more time making a list for the supermarket, but don't bother to list the really important things in life that they want. Goal setting is one of those things that will make you better than the rest. The future is a good place to get interested in because you're going to be spending the rest of your life there. As humans, we need something to strive for. I'm sure you've heard about the importance of goals before. It's an important part of every motivational speaker's message. So some of what I'm going to say to you may have heard before, but the crucial difference is this time, we're going to help you program those goals directly into your unconscious mind so that they're easier to achieve. Often, what motivational speakers do is tell you what to do and then expect you to go out and do all the work. However, using the amazing techniques on the positivity system, we're going to help you discover what it is you truly want and then program those things into your mind so you focus on them like a laser beam, so you take control of your life and steer it in the direction that you want. When you have a goal, you have a purpose, a direction, and your mind needs that. In one sense, you could compare the mind with a heat-seeking missile. Its goals are its targets. If you're unclear about your targets, then how are you going to achieve your goals? You can't hit a target if you can't see it. This is worth knowing because while on course to achieving your goals, you may face setbacks, just as an aeroplane has to correct and change course on its way to a destination. That's why it's important to keep taking in feedback and adjusting to keep on target. Goals determine your direction, your energy levels, the edge of your limitations, what drives you, and ultimately what makes you successful. An even simpler way of saying this is, and it's a theme of the whole positivity system, you always get more of what you focus on. This can work positively or negatively. For example, some people spend all their time thinking of ways not to be fat. Of course, the problem with that is, in order to not anything, you first have to think about it. For example, what happens if I say to you, try not to think of elephants? You think of them, or the word, or something associated with them. Some people are always saying to themselves, why am I so fat? How can I not be fat anymore? So what are they thinking about fat? And reinforcing that negative suggestion. So remember, in future, always state your goals in the positive. For example, how am I most easily going to become thinner? One thing that all unhappy people that I've ever worked with have in common is that they know what they don't want. They don't like this, they don't like that. They spend so much time focusing upon what they don't want as opposed to what they do want. And guess what happens to them, as repetition is the agent of success? By regularly concentrating on what you do want, you'll condition your mind to attract more of it to you. But goals are more than just achieving status or acquiring material things. Attaining your goals is fine, but what you learn and how you grow emotionally, intellectually, spiritually on the way is what really matters. Just as studying at university isn't just about working to get a piece of paper, it's about meeting people, having different experiences, seeing new ways of looking at the world. In other words, it's the journey as much as the arrival that counts. What you achieve is often not as important as who you become in the process. Because when you're working on a goal, the goal is working on you. In the 1960s, President Kennedy talked of putting a man on the moon. He told Americans, "We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they're easy, but because they're hard, because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills." Interestingly, many scientific discoveries completely unrelated with the space program happened as a result of that project. A gentleman on one of my seminars told me he'd created a goal for himself to be attaining a huge house, swimming pool, big car, yacht, and his family looking happy. Then I asked him, "But what about you?" And he looked puzzled. He said, "What about me?" Then suddenly realized he wasn't in the picture. I asked him, "What are you going to do? Work yourself into an early grave to afford more things for your family?" So he put a happy, healthy picture of himself in his goal image, and it made him feel so much better. So you can see why it's important to be precise and to have goals that truly help you. They focus your mind so you concentrate your energy in a particular direction. As Goethe said, "The greatest thing in this world is not so much where we stand, but in what direction we are moving." Goal setting is easy. Everyone can do it. In essence, this is all there is to it. Think of something you want. Imagine what it would be like to have it. Check to see if it's okay for you to have it. Think about how it might come about. And then focus your mind on that goal regularly. So now you know the basic idea of how creating goals works. Let's go through the 10 steps to successful goal setting together. As you do this, stop at each stage and take time to do each section properly. Step 1. First of all, ask yourself, what do I really want? Brainstorm. Write down what comes to mind. You can organize it all later. You don't need to be specific at first. Just an outline will do for now. If you have any problems getting started, then ask yourself again, what would I do if I knew I couldn't fail? Don't be too surprised at some of the things that come up. Oh, and don't start thinking about how it's going to happen yet. Just let the creative process continue. Think about all the major areas in your life: family, relationships, career, spiritual development. What would you really like to learn? What skills do you want to master? How much money do you want to accumulate? What character traits do you want to develop? What do you want to give back to the world? Do you want health and vitality, wealth and character improvements? Choose things that really excite you. Some people ask themselves what they'd do if the world was going to end in just a week. This also puts you in touch with what's really important to you. As you do this, really imagine your goals in as much detail as possible. You need to really visualize them. By the way, everybody can visualize. For example, think of your front door. Which side is the handle on? And how do you know that? Because you see an image of it. Also, listen to the sounds that are part of your goals and the feelings, the smells, the tastes. Create a rich internal experience of having your goals. Don't underestimate the power of your ideas. For example, money doesn't create ideas. It's ideas that create money. Einstein said, imagination is more important than knowledge. Disraeli said, imagination rules the world. So stop now, complete the exercise, and start it again when you've finished. Okay, step 2. Next, prioritize. Find your most important goals. Which goals are your top 3? Take the time now to go through all of them and find the most important of your 3 goals. Make a list now and don't continue with the rest of this until you have. Step 3. In a moment, I'm going to ask you to imagine having achieved one of your goals. And at the same time, ask yourself this question. What will having this goal give me? The reason for doing this is to discover the values that underpin your goals, to understand the essence of what really drives you. We get an insight into our values when one of them's violated. For example, if someone is disloyal to you, it's because you value loyalty that you felt upset. Values let you know what's important to you. I remember on one of my seminars, a particular gentleman said that his top goal was money. So I asked him, what would that give you? He thought about it and imagined having lots of money and said, it'll give me a feeling of security and people will respect me. So what was really important to him was security and respect. So those were his values. Now, creating good feelings, in this case security and respect, are easy, as you've already discovered. So what he did was use some of the positivity techniques to make him feel much more secure and respect himself, and the money began to show up very quickly. So when you ask yourself, what's important about a particular goal? What will achieving your goal do for you now? Specific words or a phrase will come to mind, like security, achievement, contributing to life, something that's specific to you. The words you choose will signify your values, what's most important to you in life. Because any goal you have is really just a way of fulfilling your values. Some people have a goal that's helping others, because they value making the world a better place. Someone else might have a goal of winning an Olympic medal, because they value human achievement. Let's discover what your values are now. Vividly imagine having achieved one of your goals. See what you'll see. Hear what you'll hear. Feel how good you'll feel. Now, ask yourself, what does achieving this goal give you? What's important to you about this goal? Notice what words or phrases come to mind. Keep doing this until you have a list of words and phrases that represent your values. Now, ask yourself, what's important to you about all of these values? This is your most prized value. It's at the very core of what drives you in life. So now, you should have a detailed list of your most important goals. Maybe a new house, promotion, wealth, and so on. And what having those things will give you, your values, confidence, security, enhanced self-esteem, a feeling of achievement. Okay, let's move on. Step 4, your life's purpose. Dr. Charles Garfield, the author of Peak Performers, New Heroes in American Business, found that peak performers are committed to just such a purpose. In fact, all the great achievers in history had this factor in common. They had a definite purpose. Having goals is good. Knowing your values is important. But how do they figure in your life's purpose? Motivational speakers talk endlessly about goals without considering the importance of values and purpose. For example, many people's goals exclusively focus on money, pursuing it as an end in itself, believing that when they have enough of it, they can do what they really want. I've worked with a number of people who are at the end of their lives. I've asked some of them, what do you wish you'd done more of and less of? None of them said, I wish I had another Mercedes. They said things like, I wish I'd laughed more or loved more. I wish I'd spent less time worrying. There's a saying that the best things in life are not things. Of course, money and fame can be blessings, but just acquiring symbols of success will not necessarily make us any happier. Only you know what you truly want. The way to find your life's purpose is to ask yourself, what do you love to do so much that you'd pay to do it? Ask yourself, what do you really feel passionate about? Ask yourself, what would you choose to do if you had unlimited financial wealth? Ask yourself, what are the people or characters from history who you most admire, and why? Ask yourself, if you could achieve anything that you wanted this lifetime, what would it be? Answering these questions will help you to get an overall idea of what your life's purpose is about. Steven Spielberg decided his life's purpose was to be a storyteller. He achieves this through movies. Martin Luther King was a minister. His life's purpose was to be an inspirational leader to millions. Your life's purpose doesn't have to be to change the world. Being a good citizen in itself is a noble purpose. Step 5. How will you know when you've achieved your goal? Some people have no way of knowing because they don't have a day-to-day method of measuring whether they're on course or not. The solution is simple. Be specific and have a validation procedure. You need to have sensory-based information. What will you see when you achieve your goal? What will you hear? What will you feel? What will you smell and taste? This will give you a way of knowing if you're getting nearer or further away from your goals. Some people place the validation too far in the future. They only see the end result, a big house or car, or they hold off their happiness until they achieve these. You need some signposts of success on the way. These could be smaller goals. On the way to great wealth, there may be smaller but significant amounts of wealth that let you know that you're heading in the right direction. Think of the smaller steps on the way to achieving your bigger goals. Step 6. Now, do what we call an appropriateness check. As you project into the future, check to see that having your goals is genuinely for your good and doesn't harm others. Sometimes on our way to achieving a goal, we can overlook important factors. What good is business success if it's at the cost of your health? Also, check that your goals are in your control and not dependent on others having to change themselves to make you happy. So your goal should be something that you can directly make happen. And then check to see that there aren't any hidden rewards for you not achieving a goal. Also, make sure that they're your goals. Some people choose a profession to please their parents rather than themselves. Do that now. Step 7. Knowing you're on track is easier when you have a timeline of events that need to take place in a sequence that lead you to your goal. So, get an idea of the time it will take you to achieve one of your goals. A month, 6 months, a year, whatever the length of time. Then, working back from your outcome, the big house or the car or whatever, figure out the major steps that will need to take place on the way to you achieving your goal, and then write down those steps. If you like, vividly live those steps. See what you'll see, hear what you'll hear, feel how good you'll feel as you achieve each step on the way to getting your goal. It helps to get a clear, big, bright image of each step. So you need to think through the final result and the steps that lead you there. Next, we're going to do an experiment to find out how you organize time in your mind. Dr. Richard Bandler, the founder of NLP, developed a wonderful technique called timelines. This is how it works. Think of some activity that you do every day, like brushing your teeth or getting dressed. Think about doing it tomorrow and notice that an image comes to mind. Notice where you make that image in your mind. Is it in front of you? Is it to the left or the right? Next, think about doing that activity a week from now and notice where you make the picture. Is the image in front of you? Is it to the left or the right? Is it further away than the other image? Whereabouts is it? Next, think about doing that activity 6 months from now, and once again, notice its location. Is it right in front of you? The left? The right? Is it further away? Whereabouts is it? As you look at the locations of the images, you're able to see time moves in a particular direction for you. Does the future extend out in front of you? Or does it run from left to right, like a strip of movie film? Does it curve in a particular direction? Where's the past? Is it behind you, or is it somewhere else? Take a moment to understand the direction that time moves for you in your mind. A small number of people have no specific direction. They just have everything in front of them. By looking at the direction of time with that activity you chose a few moments ago, you can see where you represent present time and how it leads to your future. We call this your timeline. Step 8. Stop and ask yourself, what's likely to get in the way of me achieving my goal? Think of what the obstacles are, because by knowing the problems in advance, you'll find it easier to overcome them. Lack of specialized knowledge, space, time, money. Will you have enough confidence to achieve your goals? Do you start things and then not finish them? Will some people not take you seriously? What kind of obstacles? Write them down. Projecting into the future and foreseeing obstacles gives the benefit of hindsight before you achieve something. Next, ask yourself, what am I going to need to do to overcome these obstacles? Who will I have to become? What kind of character traits will I have to develop? It's really important to handle these problems as early as possible. Then you'll be more confident about succeeding. Next, think of some times in the past when you've exhibited those positive character traits or similar ones. Or imagine what it would be like if you did have those qualities. For example, if it's, say, confidence, think of what it would be like if you were totally confident, filled with inner certainty and optimism. Then imagine how you would approach one of your goals. Notice the difference in your attitude and the way your behavior changes as a result. Step 9. Make a list of all the resources that you have. Just as if you were going off on a holiday, you'd want to pack all the things you'd need so that you could really enjoy yourself. I mean, make a list of everything that's a resource. Friends, skills, education, finances, time, health, character traits, where you live. Something like a telephone can mean world communication. Transport or access to it means potentially you can go almost anywhere. What resources and potential resources do you have? Make a list now and don't continue with the rest of this until you have. Step 10. Now, take those different goals and design them into your ideal day. How does it start? Imagine the kind of people you have around you, the places you go, things you have, how good you feel. Go into it in minute detail. When you do this, you are designing, so make it right. Make it so it feels really good. When you do it, go on your ideal day. What are some of the things that let you know how successful you are? Like Tesla, design your ideal day in precise detail. Let your unconscious know exactly what it is that you want. Let it encode into your neurology because, remember, for anything to happen in your life, it first has to happen as a thought in your mind. Well done. You've just taken a great leap forward by designing your destiny. Years ago, I sat down and asked myself, if I continue along the present course that I'm on, where will I end up? Where will I be in 5 years from now? I was shocked to realize that I wouldn't be any more fulfilled, spiritually, emotionally, or financially. I'd just be a bit older, a little more paranoid, living from day to day. So I asked questions, and I did visualizations just like you've done. The results were incredible. I immediately began to feel better. I then rehearsed in my imagination having what I wanted, just as we are going to do later in this audio program. I suddenly found I had more energy. My finances took on an incredible upturn. I became known in over 42 countries. Rock stars, movie stars, even royalty wanted to work with me. And then I began to attract around me the kind of people that I'd always wanted to. When I walk down the street now, I'm struck by how much wealth there is in the world. You know, once there was nothing. And look how much there is now. Which brings us to the next golden rule of success. All top athletes use mental rehearsal techniques. That is, imagining the game, race, or event going as they want it to, over and over again in their imagination. It works on a simple principle. Your nervous system doesn't know the difference between a real or a vividly imagined experience. That's why all simple positive thinking stuff doesn't really work. Just saying to yourself, day by day, in every way, I get better and better, won't necessarily make any difference. Just as if you said to your heartbeat, speed up, it won't go any faster. But if you imagined walking down a dark alley at night, hearing footsteps behind you, your heartbeat would speed up. The same rule applies to goals. To make sure you attain them, you must condition your nervous system to expect them. At least twice a day, take the time to vividly imagine and immerse yourself in the experience of achieving and living your goals. For example, when I work with a client who has a fear of public speaking, I get them to rehearse in their imagination speaking to a group of people confidently and successfully, again and again, so that when they come to do it for real, they have lots of past successes to draw upon and feel good about. So remember, you always get more of what you focus on in life. So focus on your goals and do it every day. Your unconscious mind only wants to make you happy, but you have to let it know what it is you want again and again every day. As Ralph Waldo Emerson said, a man becomes what he thinks about most of the time. Now, you've some goals to think about continually, morning, noon, and night. Turn your goals into an obsession. As you regularly do that, you encode that new cybernetic map into your mind, and that'll guide you to a destiny of happiness, abundance, and fulfillment. Keep your mind focused as you fall asleep at night on what it is that you want. Make a scrapbook. Have a picture or a symbol of your goals so that you can concentrate on them every day. Turn your goals into an obsession. Finally, take action. If all you had to do was think about what you wanted and it magically showed up a few seconds later, everyone would be driving Mercedes, living in mansion houses, wearing expensive jewelry with beautiful lovers. It would also be havoc if everything you ever thought of just suddenly manifested. That's why the universe puts one more step in between you thinking of what you want and you actually getting it. All the planning you've just done is futile if you don't follow the next golden rule. Take action. As General George Patton said, a good plan violently executed right now is far better than a perfect plan carried out next week. it's really important to keep the momentum of the enthusiasm you've already created. Think of at least one thing you can do today to help you achieve your goal, and then do it. Even a small step is fine. For example, a phone call will do. It's simple. Fantasize, rehearse, then go out into the world and do it.
Positivity. Positive software for your mind.